Welcome to i-TUTOR Economics NCERT series. We were studying chapter 9 and we had covered till the topic primary deficit. And today we are going to deal with a very new topic, federal finance. Do you know what is meant by federal finance? Federal finance means how many and financial powers are divided between the central government and the state government in a federal country like India. Okay. That is, federal finance refers to the system of assigning the source of revenue to the central as well as the state government for the efficient discharge of their respective functions. Okay, think just like a family. Just like in a family, different members have different responsibilities and need money for different purposes. In a federal system, the center and the state have different functions and therefore need different sources of revenue. So, federal finance ensures who will collect which tax, then who will spend on what responsibility, how money will be shared between center and state. So, federal finance ensures these three things. What are they? Who will collect which tax, who will spend on what responsibility, and how money will be shared between center and state. This division prevents confusion and helps both government work smoothly. Okay. Now, division of power in the Indian Constitution. To avoid conflict and overlapping, the Constitution clearly divides subject between center and the state. This division is given in the 7th schedule. Okay, remember that this division is given in the 7th schedule, which has 3 lists: union list, state list and concurrent list. Okay, and the union list, it contains almost 100 subjects. These are matters of national importance where uniformity is needed across the whole country. Okay, and this union list is managing by central government. For example, defense, railway, post, telegraph, foreign affairs, atomic energy, banking, etc. Nothing. Why center manages this union list? Because these require large resources, national level coordination and affect the entire country. Okay. Then what about the state government? It is managing by the state list. State list is managing by the state government. And it contains almost 61 subjects. These are matters related to local importance where states can make better decisions. For example, public health, police, then agriculture, local government, land and land revenue and so on. Then think why state manages the state list? Because these are best managed by authorities closer to the people. And the third one, concurrent list. It is managing by both center and the state. And it contains almost 52 subjects. It includes areas where both center and states are allowed to make laws. For example, education, electricity, economic and social planning, trade union, forest, marriage and divorce. What if both makes different laws? If both makes different laws, then the union law prevails according to Article 254. Remember that, okay? If both of them make different laws according to Article 254 of the Indian Constitution, the union law prevails. Why federal finance is needed? Because center handles expensive functions like defense, railways and national schemes. State handle local, people-centric functions like police, health and agriculture. Both need clear financial powers to avoid conflict. Therefore, the Constitution distributes the sources of revenue as well as responsibilities clearly. Okay. Now, center-state financial relationship. First one, union sources of revenue, that is central government. The central government has certain exclusive sources of revenue, okay, and these are mainly entrusted to the center because they require uniform national level administration and it involves international dealings or need large financial resources. So below are the clear list of union revenue sources. Let's look at it one by one. First one, corporation tax. that is the tax on the income of companies registered in India. It is called corporation tax. It is a source of revenue for the central government. Then currency and coinage, that is printing of currency, minting of coins, legal tender and foreign exchange management are under are the union sources. Then custom duties. What is meant by that? Taxes on imports and exports are called custom duties. Then central excise duty, that is duties on tobacco and certain goods manufactured or produced in India. Then estate duty. What is called estate duty? Tax on inherited property other than agricultural land. Okay, so it is called estate duty. Then fees on union list matters, that is fees collected for subjects mentioned in the union list except court fees. Remember that, okay, except court fees. Then foreign loans. What is that? Borrowing money from foreign governments or international institutions. Then lotteries. Lotteries managed by the central government and state government, both are revenue for the union government. Then post office saving banks. Revenue earned through postal banking services are called post office saving banks. Then post, telegraphs and communication. It includes telegraph, telephone, wireless communication, then broadcasting, for example Doordarshan and so on. Then property of the union, that is income from union owned properties. Public debt of the union, that is borrowings made by the central government, both internal and external. Then railways, all revenue earned from Indian railways. Okay. Then stamp duty on certain instruments, like rates of stamp duty on bill of exchange, check, promissory note, transfer of shares and other negotiable instruments. Then Reserve Bank of India or RBI. So the income earned through RBI is also for the union government, that is issue of currency is a profit for RBI. Then banking operation and other RBI functions. Then taxes on income except agricultural income. Income tax on individuals and companies, that is non-agricultural income are also a source for union government. Then taxes on capital value of assets, on assets of individuals or companies excluding agricultural land. Then taxes on stock exchange transactions. Taxes on transaction in stock market and future markets excluding stamp duties. Okay, excluding stamp duties are also a source of revenue for union government. Then taxes on the sale or purchase of newspaper, on advertisements published therein. Including tax on sale or purchase of newspapers and their advertisement. And the last one, terminal taxes, that is taxes on goods or passengers carried by railways, seas or air. So these all are the union sources of revenue. Okay, now let's look at the state sources of revenue. State list is also a financial power of state. So the state government have their own exclusive source of revenue. These taxes and duties are assigned to them because they relate to local matters or require state level administration. Okay, so let's look at what are the revenue sources of state government. First one, capitation tax. What is called capitation tax? Yes, a tax levied per person. Okay, a tax levied per person, and it is rarely used today. Okay. Then the second one, succession duties on agricultural land. That is tax on inheritance only for agricultural land. In union government, we made taxes on inheritance except agricultural land, and here it is tax on inheritance only for agricultural land. Then state excise duties, that is duties on goods produced within states such as alcoholic liquids for human consumption, opium, narcotic drugs and so on, and it is one of the biggest revenue sources for the state. Then next one, estate duty in respect of agricultural land. Tax on inherited agricultural property is also a source of state revenue. Then fees on stateless subjects, and remember that except court fees is a source for state government. Then land revenue. Traditional and important revenue from land holdings is also a source of revenue for state government. Then stamp duty on certain documents. Stamp duty on documents are not covered under the union list. Remember that, okay? So it is covered under the state list. Then taxes on agricultural income. Hope you understand that. Then taxes on land and buildings. That is property tax collected mainly by local bodies but constitutionally a state source. It is also under state government. Then taxes on mineral rights. It is subject to parliamentary restrictions, okay, on mineral development. Then taxes on consumption or sale of electricity. Hope you understand that. Then entry tax. Okay, entry tax. That is tax on the entry of goods into local area for consumption, use or sale. Then taxes on sale and purchase of goods. Except newspapers. Remember that, okay? Except newspapers. Exceptions are a favorite topic for UPSC, so remember these things. So this power shifted under GST but constitutionally remains listed. Then taxes on advertisements other than in newspapers. For example, hoarding, billboards, cinema arts, shop arts, etc. These are under state government. Then taxes on goods and passengers carried by road or inland waterways. Hope you understand. Then taxes on vehicles. That is registration tax on motor vehicle. Then taxes on animals and boats. Okay. Then taxes on professions, trades, calling and employment. Okay, for it is MEC ceiling. Okay, MEC ceiling is equal to rupees 2,500 per person per year according to Article 276. Okay, so this is taxes on profession, trade, calling and employment. Then taxes on luxuries and entertainment. That includes entertainment tax, luxury tax, betting and gambling tax. It is partly subsumed under GST. Okay. Then tolls. That is levied for using state roads, bridges, ferries, etc. So these are the things that are covered under the state source of revenue. Now, taxes levied and collected by the union but assigned to the state according to Article 269. So these are taxes levied by the state government, collected by the levied by the central government, collected by the central government, but the proceeds are assigned to the state. Okay, remember that these are taxes levied by the central government, collected by the central government, but the proceeds are assigned to the state. This arrangement exists because these taxes are better administered centrally, but the revenue rightly belongs to the state. So let's look at it one by one. First, duties on succession to property other than agricultural land. That is tax on inheritance of non-agricultural property. Then estate duty or property other than agricultural land. There is also an exception, other than agricultural land. That is tax on inheritance of non-agricultural property. Tax on inherited property again only for non-agricultural property. Then taxes on railway fares and freights, and this includes passengers fare, good transported by rail and so on. Then taxes other than stamp duties on transactions in stock exchange, future markets, etc. So central levies them, state gets the revenue. Then taxes on sale or purchase of newspapers and advertisements in newspaper. And there are two components here, okay. Newspaper sale and also ads published in newspaper. Then terminal taxes on goods or passengers carried by railways, seas or air. So standard terminal taxes before GST era, okay. Then taxes on the sale or purchase of goods other than newspapers in the course of interstate trade or commerce, and this refers to CST, that is Central State Tax. This is levied by the center, collected by the center and assigned to the state where the sale originates, and most of this is replaced by IGST, okay, IGST under the GST, but constitutionally the concept remains, okay. Then next one, duties levied by the union but collected and appropriated by the state according to Article 268. So these are duties that the center levies, because it is in the union list. The state collect and keep the revenue. So these are the duties. The center levies and state collect and keep the revenue. Two items comes under this article 268. What are they? Stamp duties and duties of excise on medicinal and toilet preparations. So what is called stamp duty? These stamp duties mentioned in the union list but used within a state are levied by the central government, collected by the respective state government, and entirely appropriated or kept by the state. And what about the duties of excise on medicinal and toilet preparation? The same rule, levied by the central government, collected and retained by the state where they produced or consumed. But there are some special cases, okay? If these duties are levied within a union territory, within any union territory, then they are collected by the government of India. Okay. Now, taxes which are levied and collected by the union but distributed between the state and the union according to Article 270 and 272. So, these taxes are first collected by the sender, okay, then shared with the state based on the Financial Commission's recommendation. And what are those things? First one, taxes on income other than agricultural income. This is levied by the sender, collected by the sender and shared between the sender and state. So note that this does not include corporation tax, okay. This does not include corporation tax and it is kept fully by the sender. Okay, this is an exception and remember this thing. Now, second one, union duties of excise. So, except the excise duties on medicinal preparation, toilet preparation, these two are already under state Article 268 and collected by the state. So, except these things, balance all are included in this thing. And all other central excise duties are levied by the union, collected by the union, and shared between the union and state. After GST, most excise duties are subsumed, but constitutional provisions remain. Okay. Now, principles of federal finance. Federal finance involves the allocation of revenue sources and fiscal powers between center and the state government. The following principles guides a sound federal financial system. First one, principle of independence. These are the things, okay. Principle of independence, principle of equity, principle of uniformity, principle of advocacy, principle of fiscal access, principle of integration and coordination, principle of efficiency, principle of administrative economy, and principle of accountability. So let's look at it one by one. First one, principle of independence. Each government, center and state, should be autonomous in internal financial matters. They must have separate revenue sources, taxation authority, borrowing powers and expenditure control, and this ensures fiscal autonomy. Second one, principle of equity. Revenue sources should be distributed fairly among the state, okay, and each state should get a just share of resources relative to its need. That is principle of equity. Then principle of uniformity. Ideally, all states should contribute equally to the federal state. Practically difficult because taxable capacities varies across the state. Then principle of adequacy of resources. Each government's resources should be sufficient for carrying out its functions. Adequacy refers to current and future needs. Resources should be elastic to meet emergencies, for example, war and natural disasters. Then principle of fiscal access. Government should have the flexibility to develop new revenue sources within their domain. Okay, revenue growth should match growing responsibilities and expenditure needs. Then principle of integration and coordination. The financial system should be well integrated and coordinated between center and the state, and it ensures overall economic development and stability of the federal system. Then principle of efficiency. Financial administration should be well organized, efficient and transparent. This avoids tax evasion, fraud and double taxation. Principle of administrative economy. The cost of revenue collection should be minimal. Okay, it maximizes resources available for development and public expenditure. And the last one, principle of accountability. Each government must be accountable to its legislature. Central government should be accountable to parliament, and state government should be responsible or accountable to legislative assembly. So that is all about this principles of federal finance. Now, history of financial commission. It is under Article 280. Article 280. First, let's look at the constitutional base. The Financial Commission, the Finance Commission is a constitutional quasi-judicial body created under Article 280 and it was established in 1951. What was the purpose of Finance Commission? The Finance Commission is meant to define the financial relation between center and state. This reduces vertical imbalance, that is imbalance between center and state. Then horizontal imbalance, that is imbalances among the state, and promote equity, fairness and inclusive growth. Then let me ask you, what is the nature of Finance Commission? It is a temporary body. Remember that it is a temporary body and not permanent. It is set up for 5 years. Usually constituted 2 years before the start of its award period. Then let's look at the historical timeline. First Finance Commission was set up on 1951. Okay, and set up soon after the constitution came under the force. And the 14th Finance Commission was set up in 2013 and the chairman was Y.V. Reddy. And the award period was from 1st April 2015 to 31st March 2020. And known for increasing state share is in divisible pool to 42%. Then 15th Finance Commission was set up in November 2017 and the chairman was N.K. Singh and recommendations applicable from 1st April 2020 onwards. So whenever question comes on Finance Commission, focus on Article 280, their composition, function, nature and purpose and the major recommendation of recent financial commissions. Okay. Now functions of Finance Commissions of India under Article 280. So Article 280 Clause 3 of the Constitution lists the duties or functions of the Finance Commission. The Commission submits its recommendation to the President on the following things. What are they? The distribution of taxes between the Union and State. So it recommends how the net proceeds of divisible taxes should be shared between the Union and the State, that is vertical distribution, and also among the state themselves, that is horizontal distribution. Then grants in aid to state, that is under Article 275. So it determines the amount of grants in aid to be given by the center to the state. It evolves the principles for deciding which states are eligible for such grants. Then the third one, other matters referred by the President. So the President may refer any issue related to sound finance to the Commission. For example, debt relief for states, financing of disaster relief, distribution of additional excise duties, or any other financial issues requiring expert recommendation. Okay. Now, local finance. So think of India like a big family. Inside this family, we have a small units who take care of local problems like roads, water, garbage, street lights, schools, etc. And these small units are called local bodies. So local finance simply means where do these local bodies get their money from and how do they spend it. There are 4 types of local bodies in India: village panchayat, district boards, municipalities and municipal corporation. This village panchayat stays for villages, district boards or zilla parishad for rural district, municipalities for small or medium towns and municipal corporation for big cities. So let's learn them one by one. First one, village panchayat. Think of a panchayat as the local government of a village. And it is usually created for one village and sometimes small villages combine and form one panchayat. And what are the functions? Just imagine a village everyday needs like small corals. Okay, so panchayat settle them. Then village roads, panchayat maintains them. Primary schools, panchayat take care. Drinking water, panchayat provides. Irrigation water, panchayat manages. And sometimes village markets, storage godowns and farming supports are also managed by the panchayat. And where do they get money from? They collect small taxes like property tax, land tax, profession tax or tax on animals and vehicles. Other small taxes are marriage tax, theatre tax, pilgrim tax, service tax, tax on birth and death, labor tax, and so on. So there is an important point. A panchayat cannot simply decide tax rate on its own. Okay, it needs state government's permission. Then district board or Zilla Parishad. So these work at the district level, that is at the rural level. So the jurisdiction is one revenue district, and what are the functions? Okay, let's take Tamil Nadu as an example. Okay, Tamil Nadu. So the Zilla Parishad supervises all Panchayat Samitis. It ensures development schemes are implemented properly, and it acts like the head office of rural development. And what are the sources of revenue? Grants from the state government, land cess, toll fees, income from fair and exhibition, loans from the state, grants for center schemes, and also property tax if authorized. Then the next one, municipalities. These manage the town and smaller cities. So imagine basic urban needs like clean street light, sanitation, water supply, local roads, parks, primary schools, hospitals and dispensaries, veterinary hospitals, organizing fairs, exhibitions, and so on. But remember, municipalities work under state government control. And what are the sources of revenue? Property tax. Then octroi and terminal tax. Okay, octroi and terminal tax, that is tax on goods entering town. Then profession and employment tax. Then tax on vehicles and animals, show or theatre tax, then grants from the state government. Next one, municipal corporation. So these govern large cities like Chennai, Mumbai, and Delhi. They have more powers and more functions than municipalities. And what are the functions? Water supply, lighting, drainage, roads, street lights, slum clearance, housing project, and town planning. As cities grow fast, their workload increases. And what are the sources of revenue of corporation? Property tax, vehicle and animal tax, trade or employment tax, short tax, taxes on goods entering the city, advertisement tax, octroi, and terminal tax. So corporations can adjust tax rates, but only within limits set by the law. Okay. So these are about those things. Now fiscal policy. Okay, what is called a fiscal policy? Fiscal policy simply means how the government uses its money, that is how it collects money, that is taxes, and how it spends money, that is expenditure, to control the economy. That is how the government uses its money to collect it and spend to control the economy. So fiscal policy is government's taxation plus government's spending. Why did fiscal policy become important? Earlier, governments believed economy will correct itself, but then something big happened. That is the Great Depression of 1929. Huge job losses, factories closed, demand collapsed, and world economy almost stopped. And government realized markets cannot fix everything on their own. Government must step in to regulate the economy. So Keynes and new economies. So there is a development of Keynes and the new economies. That is, economist John Maynard Keynes introduced new ideas. That is, during recession, government should spend more, and during inflation, government should reduce spending or increase taxes. Government investment can revive demand. So Keynes' idea became the foundation of modern fiscal policy. And why is this fiscal policy popular today? Because it helps the government to create jobs, control inflation, achieve economic growth, reduce poverty, then stabilize the economy, reduce inequality, and promote development. So that's why almost every modern government actively uses fiscal policy. Now, meaning of fiscal policy. When we say fiscal policy, we are basically talking about how the government adjusts its income and expenditure to influence the overall economy. But let's break it even simpler, okay? First, common parlance. What is called common parlance? In simple language, fiscal policy is equal to budgetary manipulation. This means the government uses its budget, that is taxes and spending, to affect big economic variables like output, employment, saving, and investment. Output means how much the country produces. Employment, you know that, how many people have jobs. Saving, how much household saves. And investment, how much businesses invest. So whenever the government changes tax rates, subsidies, public spending, and borrowing, it is actually using fiscal policy to shape the economy. For example, if the government wants more job, it will increase spending on roads, railways, construction, etc. And this will increase demand and companies hire more workers. And if the government wants to control inflation, it may reduce spending or increase taxes, and this reduces demands and prices come down. Okay. Now let's look at a definition for fiscal policy. Arthur Smith he told that the term fiscal policy refers to a policy under which the government uses its expenditure and revenue programs to produce desirable effects and avoid undesirable effects on the national income, production and employment. So Smithies is saying that fiscal policy is basically government expenditure and government revenue, that is spending and tax collection, used in such a way that it increases good outcomes and that leads to high income, more production and more jobs. And if it reduces bad outcomes, there is unemployment, recession and low output. So for Smithies, fiscal policy is equal to government using spending plus taxes to control the economy. Now Buhler's definition. By fiscal policy it means by the use of public finance or expenditure, taxes, borrowing and financial administration to further our national economic objectives. That is, Butler expands the meaning by including 4 tools, that is public expenditure, taxes, borrowing and financial administration. He says all these are used to achieve national economic goals like growth, stability, employment and equity. So for Butler, fiscal policy is equal to all government financial activities aimed at achieving economic goals. Okay. Now, fiscal instruments. Fiscal policies work through 3 main goals or 3 main tools. Think of them as the 3 levers the government can pull to control the economy. What are they? Taxation, public expenditure and public debt. Let's learn each one clearly. First one, taxation. Taxes take money from people and give it to the government. So taxes can be direct tax or indirect tax. Direct taxes, for example, income tax and corporate tax. And what are the examples of indirect tax? GST, excise duties and customs. And what are the effects of taxation? When the government increases taxes, people have less disposable income. So they buy less and demand falls and inflation come down. When the government reduces tax, what happens? People have more disposable income. Disposable income means income after paying taxes. Okay, so people have more disposable income and it will lead to an increase in demand, and that helps the economy during recession or depression. So taxation is a tool to manage inflation and recession. Okay. Second one, public expenditure. This is the money the government spends. For example, salaries of the government employees, roads, then schools, hospitals and welfare schemes. And what are the effects of public expenditure? Then the government increases spending, that leads to more wages, more salaries and more jobs. So people buy more, demand increases and recession is reduced. And when the government reduces spending, less money circulates, demand reduces and helps to control inflation. So public government spending is used to push the economy up or slow it down. Then the third one, public debt, or it is also known as borrowing. When the government borrows money, it takes funds from the public. How? By issuing bonds and loans like government securities. And what are the effects of public debt? When government borrows, money moves from the public to the government. And when the government repays loans plus interest, money moves from the government back to the public. So borrowing helps the government finance big development projects, budget deficit, welfare programs, etc. And public debt is a tool to manage deficit without increasing immediate taxes. Okay. Now, objectives of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy means how the government uses taxes, spending and borrowing to manage the economy. Now, let's understand the main objectives one by one. What are the objectives? Full employment, price stability, economic growth, equitable distribution, external stability, capital formation and regional balance. So let's look at it one by one. First one, full employment. And what is the goal here? Everyone who wants a job should get one. And how fiscal policy helps? Government increases public expenditure to create jobs. For example, in India, NCERT provide 100 days of work that reduces unemployment. So during unemployment, the government spends more to create jobs. Then second one, price stability. That is to control inflation and deflation. And what is the goal? keep prices stable, neither too high nor too low. That is not inflation and not deflation. During inflation, there is too much demand and that leads to a rise in price. So the government reduces public spending. So government increases taxes and people have less money and therefore demand reduces. And during depression or recession, there is low demand. So that leads to falling price. Government increases spending, government reduces taxes and people have more money, therefore demand rises. So fiscal policy is used like a remote control to balance demand and price levels. Third one, economic growth. And the goal is to increase the productive capacity of the economy over time. How fiscal policy boosts growth? Tax holidays and tax rebates encourage people to start new industries, and government invests in big projects like dams, highways and railways. If taxes are not enough, government borrows to fund development. So think like fiscal policy acts like fuel for long-term economic development. Then fourth one, equitable distribution of income, and the role is to reduce the gap between the rich and poor. And how fiscal policy helps? In progressive taxes, rich pay more tax and poor pay less. And in welfare expenditure, free education, midday meal, subsidy, health schemes, etc. So these measures improve the living condition of poorer section. So there is an equitable distribution of income. Fiscal policy is a tool for social justice. Then external stability or stable exchange rate, and the goal is to prevent too much fluctuation in India's exchange rate. How fiscal policy helps for that? Yes, subsidies and tax benefits are there for exporters and therefore export increase. High custom duties on non-essential imports, so therefore there is a reduction in import bill. It reduces duties on raw materials, that leads to a lower production cost and helps export. So this keeps foreign exchange stable. Then capital formation, and the goal is to increase savings, then investment and then capital formation. How fiscal policy helps? Yes, tax relief increase people's disposable income and therefore there is more savings. Government invests in infrastructure, therefore it attracts private investment. So capital formation is equal to foundation for development. Then regional balance, and the goal is to reduce inequality between developed and backward regions. And what are the fiscal measures? Tax incentives for industries in backward regions, and also government builds industrial estates and infrastructure in underdeveloped areas. This encourages industries to move there, more jobs and development. Okay, so that's all about the objectives of fiscal policy. Now we are coming to the summary part. Okay, so public finance is a study of how the government raises money and spends money. Okay, it covers 5 major areas. What are they? Public revenue, public expenditure, public debt, fiscal administration and also fiscal policy. And public finance is important for all countries, both developed or developing. In developed countries, the main issue is economic instability caused by either too little demand or too much demand. In developing countries, fiscal policy is used mainly to achieve rapid economic growth. Fiscal policy gained importance after the Great Depression, when J.M. Keynes suggested that government intervention, especially through public spending, is necessary to pull an economy out of recession. Thus, government expenditure and private economic activities are closely linked, making fiscal policies a powerful tool for managing the economy. Okay, so that's all about this chapter. Hope you understand. Thanks for watching. For more related contents, do like, share and subscribe.